science, okay, science, health, the medical industry, sometimes the political system, the way they've set the infrastructure and so on like that. There's a truth there. Or, say, laws, although they might not be true, everybody abides by it. So there's this second level of truth. And I kind of put it like halfway there, because in this reality, say, for example, science might come up with an understanding on how to, say, send a rocket to the moon, and bring it back and all those things. Again, fantastic technology, or AI, or all those brilliant things that they do, right? But, and the reason why I say it's halfway, it's not even complete, is because even science, like 10 or 20 years later, 2-3 decades later, what they do is like, well, now scientists have, they got better instrumentation, better tools, better whatever, better understanding, right? So their knowledge grows, and they go, oh shit, that the way we thought of it doesn't really work that way. Okay? So back in the day, they had, Newtonian physics, for example, right? They thought everything was solid, Newton's apple and all that, fantastic. Again, that was a big jump from, before Newton. So they went into Newtonian physics, and then now they're understanding quantum physics, right? Which is very different than how this reality works. Although quantum physics controls this reality. So if you want, let's just slide into that, because that's what we're going. So it's more logical, and it's more, say, science-based than like just a theory. Okay. So in this reality, for example, we can put, say, Newtonian, and I'll just put an N here. Newtonian physics here. Okay, so that's again for those people online, Xponential seminar, the base of the pyramid, and N. So that's Newtonian physics, right? It's the way this reality works. Okay, we still don't know how this reality works. That's why there's so much commotion. That's why the political systems fail. That's why religious systems fail. That's why society as a whole, as you can see, it's failing. It's crumbling under our own eyes. By the way, I predicted that quite a long time ago, that the infrastructure of this reality is going to be crumbling. It's crumbling, right? Which is right on track. So I'm proud to say that, or I'm happy to say that. And there's a reason for that. I'm not here for the demise of individuals. I'm here for a whole new world, because we need a whole new infrastructure. Okay? So this reality is more, of, again, higher science, understanding of how, say, the principles like electromagnetism, gravity works, things of that nature. Okay, they're logical. They work each and every time. Okay, there's no gray area. Okay, so that's this level. Attitudes, personalities, certain behaviors, certain success habits. Okay? If you're getting into, say, the humankind or human psychology, success habits, there's certain things that you need to do, no matter what level you are. Staying healthy, there's certain things that you need to do. So they're consistent. They're truth at every level. At this level, and their truth at this level, because they can ascend higher and higher. Okay? So hopefully we understand that. And then we get to, let's just say, this level we're not going to talk about, but we get to, just because it's and the reason you're wondering why. So this level, from here, so for those people on Xponential seminar, the top two levels, so the physical level, again, the personal truths, belief systems, then say social belief systems, science, and so on like that, at this mid level. Okay, so again, those people on, so it's the next, say, section of a pyramid, the next section up, and then we have, say, constant truth. Constant truth would be in this area for you. Okay, so this is constant truth. This is again science principles that over time has stayed consistent. Okay, it hasn't changed through the advent of new technology, new mechanisms, more understanding. It's consistent over and over. Nature works at, say, this level. Okay? If you look at nature, No matter what it is, no matter what animal it is, it's consistent all the time. It's true all the time in this situation, in this reality, in this space-time reality. Right? It's always consistent. It works each and every time. So, and that's how consistent it is. So this section, so the next pyramid up, the next block on your pyramid, is a transition between this world. So this is a physical world. This is space-time right here. Okay. So you add, the first and second layers together, and that would be space-time, or how this matrix works, or the operating system, if you will, the rule sets of how this matrix works, or your identity, how you, say, render yourself here. I'm not going to get into that aspect of it, because that's a whole new talk. So that's this level, the first two levels of the pyramid. The third level up is, and this would be number 3. So the third level up would be a transitionary period. Okay? It's a transitionary space. So it's some of you who are religious, say the veil between this world, the other world. So this is that veil. Okay? This veil is needed because if you've ever scuba dived, you'll see layers, thermal layers in water. Right? You go deep down, and there's just a straight line that's just super cold water. It doesn't mix. Okay? It's like that. It is because it's two different realities here. Right? Just like that water example, they just don't mix, and that's this veil here. So we're not going to be talking about that. Okay? Although it's very interesting, but maybe on another topic. This fourth layer would be the consciousness that renders or creates this reality. This is where Xi works. Okay? So this is where Xi works, and at this level, it's the top level truth. So there's no exceptions to the rule. Okay? Each and every, say, system works exactly the same way, each and every time, and it works exactly the same way beyond this space-time. So if you, say, believe in aliens or another frequency, basically, right, they resonate outside of a 24-hour frequency. They resonate differently. Their space-time resonates differently. It would be, it still would be under the fourth layer of truth here, because even, say, even in the alien world, it's still governed by the same laws. So once you change this consciousness here, okay, it filters down here. So what does that have to do with the coronavirus? What does that have to do with all the stuff that's around you? And some of you may have heard this before, but I just want to reiterate it because this is what's very important for what's happening for the coronavirus. Okay, and this is how what's leading us to the truth. And this is why it's not just the coronavirus. It's about a collapse. Hence, in this reality, there has to be a collapse. Okay? Let me explain the reason why. Okay? And I've talked about this over, the last 4 or 5 years. Purity waves coming through. Purity waves washing through. So what does that mean? What is a purity wave? Basically, the realities, over time, this reality is very dense. Just like, and I equate it to, say, your cell phone. Back in the day, it was very dense. It was very heavy. You couldn't do much with it. But nowadays, you have a computer that's more powerful than what sent the first, Apollo 11 or Apollo 13. Actually, this thing is more powerful than that. So imagine that. So it's become more efficient, more concise, more powerful. Okay. So we're in this phase that this consciousness, that this 24-hour, say, space-time consciousness, because we're on a 24-hour clock, just as a label, it's becoming more efficient. So it's a good thing, just like your cell phone. You wouldn't want to use the cell phone of, say, the 80s, right? You wouldn't want to nowadays, if you realize as you go into this transition, you wouldn't want to use the consciousness of, 1,000 years ago. Okay? Imagine you. Think of you. You think you are up to date. But look at the logic or look at the software, say, that you were running if you were a smartphone or a smart human. Okay? Would you be that smart? Probably not. Because your, say, software update never happened. You never evolved into the next version. You would be, say, the latest version of your family. Now look at all that happens. Look at all the programming or look at all the health issues, the way you age, the way you die, the way you get married, the way you have a job, what you believe in, the way you run through society, all those things. Where did you get that from? Your parents, grandparents, great-great-grandparents, and so on and so on and so on and so on. You didn't evolve to a more intelligent space, did you? You basically followed their same path. So consciousness or evolution, okay? And I'll just draw it on our side here. Human consciousness kind of went up like that. So that little bump here is basically, in the 70s, 80s when the advent of the computer came up, okay? The internet came up, and then people were forced to rise to that level and learn the computer so they could play, Candy Crush or whatever that the people play, or look at their social media, unfortunately. Although there's so many things on the internet that you could learn about. You could literally have or get a university degree if you spent your time. But how many people do that? That's the problem. That's another problem that we'll talk about another day. Technology, on the other hand, just went like that. So this part here is the disparity that's happening here in the levels of truth. That's what's so important. So as this, say, separates, there's going to be a pull. Okay? The reason why this separates is because our identity or our evolutionary process got stunted. Because there's, like in the animal kingdom, in the technology realm, the nature, they evolve, right? Their predecessors are, say, worse off than us, than the ones that are coming up. You look at inventions, they're better, they're quicker, but humans, yeah, they're better. They are healthier, or they, a poor person of today, for example, is a lot better than a poor person of about 20, 30 years ago. Okay, no doubt about that. So it's like, so what's the problem? The problem is that the consciousness, it doesn't matter about this physical realm, because this is a lower realm. The consciousness has stayed the same. That's the key. That's the problem. Okay? So let's go ahead and take a deep breath in. So over time, again, software update after software update after software update, and it's happening more and more intense. Again, I predicted this back. I was a couple months off, but still pretty close for predicting 4 or 5 years ago. So 2020 hit, and major transformations happened just right off the bat. Right? Exactly. So a lot of changes right off the bat. Springtime hit again. A lot of changes right off the bat. So why is that happening? Okay, because we're in a transitioning period, and this is, say, the deeper levels of what I call the purity wave. For those who've been with me, so imagine what happens on this consciousness. Okay, this level 2. Like I said. This level, the level 1 here, the physical level that we are all in, that physical level, this level here, okay, has to disappear. Imagine that. This level, what your belief systems are, how you see everything here, how government sees everything here, how you see at a personal level, everything is upgrading itself. It's not about the coronavirus. It's not about control systems of the government. I mean, that exists. I'm not doubting it. You know, those elites that are at that level think that they have, you know, a hold of this reality, you know, whatever it might be. They're in a big surprise. Big surprise because they can't control this reality anymore because they're old systems of control, right? Taking the money, right? Whoever owns the purse, right? The purse or the money, you know, controls the people. Basically, that's the psychology of this reality. Not anymore. Not anymore. Okay? And then on the flip side, those people who don't hold the purse, the masses, what are you doing to be allowed to be controlled by those individuals, right? So there has to be two levels, right? You're both to blame, by the way, right? It's not them against you. It's not you against them. You're both to blame because you're resonating in a certain frequency. You can step out of it, like say, for example, using XI and not be controlled by any aspect of it. So that's a solution there for you. But that's something else. So let's move on. So in this transition or this purity wave comes through, what happens is that there's enough people at this level, and there's say 7.5 billion people at this level that are holding this consciousness up, right? We are, say, you know, an energy system, human consciousness as a whole. For example, say for example, women, okay? You are the experiences of all the women that has ever, say, walked the face of this earth. Imagine that. So all the distortions, all the abuse patterns, all the good things that women are, you are, say, your programming has that built into you, and then you have to filter all those things out to identify yourself as, say, the default woman or the optimal woman that you should be. Same thing with men. Same thing with money. Same thing with joy. Same thing with health. Same thing with everything. Right? There's a default pattern. There's a default, say, system pattern that you're born with. Okay? Your grandest self, if you want to call it that. But then most people run off the lies or the distortions, and those lies are so brilliantly made that over time the evolutionary process has stopped, and then we start to go down the wrong path. So that's why evolution doesn't work out. For example, if you were an animal, any type of animal or plant, say heart disease was in an animal, in 1 or 2 generations, that heart disease would be deleted out of that generation. It'd just be gone. Right? You might go, well, what about extinction if evolution works out? Well, over time, that's how new animals get created, right? New plants get created. So it's a perfect system. Okay? Although man nowadays are messing up with that evolutionary process or that instinct or extinction process, which is sad to say. So what's happening? So those people on Institute Seminar, imagine the first layer, the base layer of that pedestal, getting deleted. Okay? So let me just talk a little bit about what happens, okay, or why that's happening. So, like I said, the consciousness, 7.5 billion people, are creating this reality that exists. So we're all part of it. Okay? But there's enough people that are saying, hey, stop. This reality doesn't fit well. It's not working for the grandeur. It's not working for anybody, actually. People who are in control, they think, they've got it made. But they don't. They're still ill. They're still fucked up. Their families are messed up. They're alcoholics, and they want more and more and more control. Why is that? Because they're not in control, okay? And then on the flip side, the masses, they attack other people. They're not in control. They're still ill. Their families are, fucked up. They have nothing either. So they're not in control either. So again, the system is not working for both sides. It's not a good setup for anybody because it's not real. This 1% is not real. That's the problem. So a lot of individuals, especially people who practice exponential intelligence, XI, they're starting to go, shit, there's got to be another reality here. What's going on? I want that new reality. I call it high performance consciousness. This is really cool. So high performance consciousness, by the way, say, is this next level up. Actually, it's this. It's a merging of, say, layers in 3 and 4, but just for simplicity's sake, because there's a lot of new people, just want to keep it simple. We can get into the technicals or, say, the quantum physics on how all that stuff works, but it would just bore a lot of people. But if you are, say, the physicist or the quantum physicist, or, get into, the space-time type questions, please send me your comments or your questions at MASEI, M-A-S-E-I, at masajati.com, and I'd love to answer the technicals. But again, this is not the place to do it. So EI basically is another rendition, your higher version of yourself. Okay? Although EI is XI is at this level, it has to go through filters or layers so we understand it. So it's a process. Okay? So this is the closest thing to XI that you can get. So what happens is, again, people practicing XI or people who are awakened at a certain level, if you read the book Power versus Force, it's an older book, but again, very powerful. A lot of the people are leaving this consciousness. They're going to this level. So they're moving away from, say, this hierarchy. That makes sense to you. Okay? So as they move away from this hierarchy, this bottom layer collapses. So that means all the truths, all the lies, whatever that, I want to say truths because a lot of the truths, personal truths, so on like that, not real truth. So the lies, truths, however you saw this reality exist, however you saw work, however you saw infrastructure, government systems, religious systems, all those things that were not true, were not, say, true or aren't going to be true in, say, this level 2 here, will be deleted from our programming. So let me just say that again, okay? Because it's pretty heavy. So anything that does not operate, say, in this operating system or in this global setting or in this consciousness, if you want to call it, however you want to call it, I call it an operating system, okay? In this level, will be deleted. So just to give you a clear example, let's see. So say abuse patterns. Abuse patterns there still be abuse patterns, but not compared to, what we have here. Okay? Because we need one more level. But again, it's like, say, at 100% abuse here, maybe you'd get like 3-4%, 10% at max here. So it's very minimal. Okay? But it still has to be there to have, say, some kind of reference. Okay? So, and I know that sounds kind of strange or weird, but let me give you an example, because many of you ex-Ires have gone through this. Okay, so as I've worked on you, and as you updated yourself and upgraded, right, to this level, so you're not operating from this consciousness. That's why you feel foreign to the people around you. That's why, people are all over the place. You don't associate with those individuals. You don't associate with the news. You don't associate with all that trash that's going on there. You're above it in a good way. You're not putting your nose down on them, but again, you're at a higher level because you're operating from this level. That's why. Okay? So, to give you a solid example, again, many of you go through this, and then those who are new, again, many of these XRs have gone through it, so it's not, I'm not just saying it. So, say I've worked on you, and you've changed quite a bit. Many of you can't remember the abuse patterns that happened to you. You can kind of see them in a fuzzy way, so to speak, if that makes sense to you, but there's no, say, interaction with them. There's no charge in them, right? Many of you go, yeah, that happened, but it happened to me, or it happens, or it feels like it happened a long ass time ago, not in your lifetime, because it's disconnected from you that long. So basically what that means is that when you elevate yourself at the second level, it's a distant memory. This is where, your family starts to change dramatically, or you move away from your family. You get back on track of that evolutionary process. And you ascend higher, you get stronger. This is where reverse aging happens. This is where better social systems come through. This is where government systems come through. And this is, so once this say collapses, say the government systems or the elites, that even if they had this plan of, saving their ass again, or, whatever, the banking system and all that, even if they had that plan, let's say, even if they were corrupt and they just put out the virus, just for controlling the masses, doesn't fucking matter. It just doesn't matter anymore, because the control systems that they had in this realm doesn't exist. There's no control systems that just don't exist. Those people who have gone through XI, look at some of the things that used to control you. They don't anymore, right? You don't get, say, changed or blocked or charged by somebody, right, that is abusive or distortive. You just look at them and it's like, what the hell are you doing, right? And they just walk away. Most likely, though, you just don't attract anybody like that. Okay? Same thing here. So those, say, bullies or control systems or people who are victims, okay, the masses, right? They get told what to do. Sacrifice type people, right? They get pushed around, they get bullied, they get walked on, they get controlled. Again, you guys, that's a program that's running in you. If you want to be into that higher consciousness, and many of you who have been pushed around, shoved and so on like that, you're finding that you can't go back to your old patterns as a crutch. They're not there anymore. There's no excuses anymore. So either way, you come to be, say, a stronger self of identity, a stronger sense of self. You're getting closer and closer to your original, say, programming. That's up here, your non-time space, your non-time identity, or your 99%, or some of you might consider it your spirit. So is that cool? Is that exciting, guys? So this collapse here, like I said, anything that holds a frequency of this reality has to collapse. Hence, some of the buildings, some of the heavy toxic religious buildings that were around the world started crumbling in today's world, which is really exciting. That's why many of the people that are, say, at a higher level, they're at this level, they're going, what's all the chaos happening? Why is that happening why is that all that happening, and why am I, say, solid? Should I be worried? I feel guilty that I'm not worried. Because again, you're living out of this consciousness. This consciousness is basically getting eradicated. That's why there's a lot of chaos. That's why there's a lot of confusion in the control systems, the governments, so on. Because again, like I said, they're not going to be functional the way they control or the way they abuse. So again, it's an exciting place to be, but it's such a dramatic change, because no matter what side you're on, you have to change to elevate yourself here. If you don't, it's okay. You won't make it here in this physical time. You won't be here. You'll disappear. However, and again, it's okay, because even if you die, if you cross over, right, your higher self still holds on, because we don't die very well. We don't know how to die. And I'm not going to get into that aspect of it. That's another podcast. What happens is that since this is gone of your programming, as you cross over, you become enlightened anyway, but you're just not in this realm. So it's a quicker way to cross. It's a quicker way to get enlightened, basically like that, as you die. So you'll probably feel a lot of people, say, crossing over, tragedies, virus and so on like that. And I'll just talk about that, because it is sad, but the way this does it is very different than, say, people dying of, say, the H1N1 or the Black Plague and all that, because that was just a distortion. That was basically going out of normality or out of balance. So nature just pulls you back in, forcing you. So however, say, she does it, it just forces you back into, say, a standard. So this is different, again, because this new consciousness is forcing through. And then if it's a virus, or if it's a tornado, or if it's mass flooding, or whatever it is, It doesn't matter. Okay? No matter what happens, you become awakened. If you stay here, you just go up to the next. You get forced to go up to this next consciousness. If you don't, well, you get enlightened, and then you just go up to, say, another level consciousness, this layer here, and you're awakened. So it's all good. Pretty wild, huh? Pretty cool stuff.